Hi everybody, I'm doing this video on my psychic predictions that I had about World War III. Okay. Um I've been doing it for a while. I've been in, I think I started last year. Yeah, sometime last year, and I've been updating the file that I have. I have it all written down about what's been going on, who's involved in what, and for World War III, it's not going to be the way the other world wars were like before. Um, World War III is more of like a financial war, okay? But there is going to be some battleground. I guess not battleground. There's going to be some military involvement, but it's not going to be the way it was previously. I guess you can say World War III is more peaceful than the other ones. All right. If you don't know how this works, my pendulum is organized. It moves for things that are supposed to be true. Okay, you can believe it. You don't have to believe it. I'm just doing my services. We got a little Buddha here. All right. I'm a pagan Buddhist Jewish person, so you can. It is what it is. All right. So I actually have the group split up. There's going to be two groups. By the way, World War III began last year. It began last year. It's already going on right now. Okay. There's three groups. All right. And I have them. No, not three. There's two. My bad. There's two groups. I have them all listed. All right. The first group. Oops. Hold on. The first group is I guess we'll call it the good guys. Is Lithuania, Netherlands, Luxembourg, Belarus, Ecuador, Venezuela, okay, China, Malta, I don't know if I'm saying this right, Seychelles, Finland, Estonia, Monaco, Russia, Trinidad and Tobago, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, UAE, Burkina Faso, Canada, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Sri Lanka, Iran, and North Korea. The second group is Monaco. I know. Listen, they switch sides. It's Monaco, United States, Israel, Germany, Czech Republic, Morocco, Ukraine, Somalia, Nigeria, Austria, and Egypt. All right. I have everything written down about what actually ended up happening. Let me just get to that point. Here's the document. I have the order of joining and the why. The first one that joins is Lithuania, and I'll explain. This is a really weird situation, all right? It's because NATO was planning to attack Belarus from the gap that's between Lithuania and Belarus. The Ukrainians were using these balloons in the air to try to frame them for being Belarusian balloons. And the idea was that NATO can then accuse Belarus of trying to attack Lithuania. And then NATO was going to attack Belarus, overthrow their government, and put a puppet there like they did for Ukraine. So I have it all written down, okay? So there was a balloon situation. It's a Ukrainian false flag, okay? It was a Ukrainian false flag, okay? So this is where it gets weird. There was supposed to be an attack so there was supposed to be a terrorist attack done by the Ukrainians, but they were supposed to blame the Belarusians, whatever. Okay, so the intelligence was shared covertly. So what's gonna happen is Lithuania, their government is going to be there's going to be a replacement. All right, The people of Lithuania are going to find out that the sitting government was okay with a terrorist attack. This is arranged by NATO. There's supposed to be a terrorist attack done by the Ukrainians and some NATO soldiers so they could frame Belarus for attacking them. Okay? This all this stuff was going on. The balloon thing was going on when I think Russia and the United States was supposed to be having these peace talks. The Russians to know the the Americans are not actually trying to do peace talks. Okay, it's just a bunch of bullshit. So what happens is, the Lithuanians, right? They find out that their own sitting government was okay with there being a terrorist attack on their own soil so that they could blame Belarus. And so they decide that they are going to do something about the government, and they switch sides. So that's the first, this is the order of joining, all right? So there's going to be intelligence shared with incoming, it's going to be shared covertly with, there's going to be a Lithuanian type of coup, but it's not going to be like the traditional coup. It's going to be a peaceful one, all right? And the government that the balloons were part of a highly coordinated Ukrainian intelligence terrorist false flag operation designed to be shot down by Lithuania, providing a pretext for NATO escalation. All right? This is what happened. So Lithuania is you can go in the news, Google it, about these stupid balloons, all right? And you can Google the Belarus, what they said about the balloons, how they said that shit's not, they were saying they were exaggerating. Some of the balloons were not theirs, they were saying, and they were saying that they don't know, that's true. They're telling the truth, okay? The whole balloon situation was a Ukrainian false flag done by NATO. Then the second group that joins is Monaco. And this is because of finances, okay? I wrote this all down already. So what happened with Monaco? Monaco was in cahoots with the whole, what is it? The balloon false flag. They were in cahoots with it, okay? The elite were betting their bets on the success of an aggressive move, the false flag and invasion of the Gap in Lithuania and Belarus. They expected a short and decisive victory that would stabilize the dollar and solidify the Western financial order, all right? This was a failure, though. It didn't work out. As you guys know, it didn't work out, okay? And so, So what happened was, this was the cabal's plan. I'm just gonna call them the cabal, and I'm gonna tell you who the cabal is in this situation it's the United States, Israel, Germany, and Monaco. Okay. First, they tried to destabilize the coalition by claiming anti-Semitism in Lithuania. Okay, so they had to remove an internal opposition that might oppose the cabal's plan for the Ukrainian false flag. Okay, this was in the news as well. All right, so they had to remove anybody who might oppose the plan. Okay, and so this was also to ensure compliance. So the whole plan was financially backed in Monaco. I already scale all of this. The whole plan for the false flag, it was financially, the finances, the back end of the finances was done in Monaco. Okay? But it didn't work, and Monaco ends up switching sides because financial reasons with China. So China somehow gets involved with Monaco, okay? Let's see. The failure of the conspiracy was comprehensive and immediate. That the elite who funded the plot had to abandon the plot, and they had to flee to a stable Chinese structure. So Monaco decides to flee to the Chinese financial structure because the whole Ukrainian NATO thing is a money pit, and the people in Monaco, the elites there are getting irritated, okay, because the plan did not work. So that's the second group, okay? I'm just telling you, this is how World War III is going to operate. It's not going to operate like it did before. The third group The third people who decide to go to the other side is the Netherlands. And I'm going to tell you why. It makes perfect sense. It's because Germany is remilitarizing. They're getting their military up again. Okay? What happens is the Netherlands switch sides because they have historical trauma. They're worried about occupation and loss of sovereignty. Germany has been in the news lately about them doing their military again, and it's due to strategic and economic imbalance. So this is why the Dutch decide to switch sides, because they do not like that Germany is trying to get their military, the whole military situation bothers the Netherlands. If you know anything about World War II, that would make complete sense why this bothers the Dutch, okay? At some point, the Dutch actually decide to leave NATO to support their own interests, okay? So this is the third group. The fourth group that switches sides, all right, is Luxembourg. They decide to switch sides the same reason as the Dutch, and because of the costs. They don't like the NATO costs, and they want to leave NATO, and they don't like the tariff war. So that's why they decide to leave NATO. All right. Now I'm just telling people the order of operation, how World War III is going on. So you should probably, if they haven't left yet, okay, doesn't mean they're not talking about it right now. All right. The next one is Belarus, Ecuador, and Venezuela. They end up joining too. It's not because they're on Russia or China's side. I just want to make that clear. It's not because of Russia or China, okay? What happens with the Belarusians, they get mad because of the NATO terrorist attack that they tried to blame on them, and because they want to overthrow their government. That's why, that's for Belarus. Ecuador and Venezuela is because the Americans are attacking them, okay? Straight to the point. It has nothing to do with China or Russia for either. All of these reasons for all these countries switching sides, none of it has anything to do with Russia or China. So it has nothing to do with communism or blah, blah, blah. You know how the West likes to be, right? That's not why. And then China also, then the next one is China. It's because China is pissed off that America keeps accusing them of the fentanyl crisis. Okay? They keep placing higher tariffs on China. They're saying they're doing this to pay back the lives of the people who died for fentanyl. But the problem is this. The CIA is involved in drug trafficking. Everybody knows it, okay? From the Chinese point of view, they believe the Americans should have this is a failure of the American governmental system because they can't seem to control drug addictions and drug problems in their own borders. China doesn't have problems with drugs the way America does. And from the China's point of view, it's the Americans' job to make sure they regulate drugs, to arrest drug traffickers and do something about the situation instead of actually doing something about it, right? If we all go downtown, we see addicts passed out on the sidewalk, right? From China's point of view, this is a reflection of the failure of the American system, the American healthcare system, trying to scapegoat the Chinese for their own failure in governing and making sure people are not addicted to drugs. So this is and the Chinese are always also angry about the tariffs. So this is why China decides to be like, fuck you guys. This is why. Has nothing to do with communism, and they're trying to take the world power. That has nothing to do. That's not why, okay? And then there's Malta. This is the reason why for Malta. Malta is bearing a massive unfunded cost of supporting a large number of Ukrainian refugees, okay? It's too much. It's too much. It's putting a strain on them, and they feel they are structurally incapable and unwilling to pay the costs. Okay, and so they get frustrated, and so they make a financial deal with China. China promised them that they will send tourists to Malta to help them financially, and they also do the same with Luxembourg, okay? So from the Chinese point of view, this is about finance. Like I said, the World War III is not like the other two. It's more of a financial war, okay? Seychelles, I don't know if I'm saying this right. This is the next country. This one happened because of tourism. The reasons why people switch sides is different for each country. It has nothing to do with communism. I just want to say this again. It has nothing to do with communism. It has nothing to do with this. It's for each reason why the country decides to switch sides is because of their own problems, the things going on, and it's for their own best interests, okay? For Seychelles, there is an issue of tourism. So they decide to get an alliance with China to help with tourism so that Chinese tourists can come to their islands. It's like Malta. This is why they switch sides. They need money. They need money. They need money. Everything in World War III is all about money. It's a financial war. They don't care about all the other stuff. They just want the money, okay? So the next country is Finland. Finland is worried about national security after the gap issue with Lithuania. This is a reason for Finland switching sides. They become extremely paranoid about Ukrainians trying to do false flags on their land. Finland's also having problems with Ukrainians being criminals. They're having problems with the Ukrainian refugees doing prostituting. They're having problems with Ukrainians doing robberies, okay? So they're having a huge problem, and NATO is asking for way too much money, all right? And so Finland decides at some later point that they're going to leave. They decide they're not only going to leave NATO, they decide they're going to leave NATO, but they're also going to leave the European Union, and they also decide they want to switch back to their own currency. It's just too much. This is to protect their finances, all right? So this is the reason for Finland. Then there's Estonia. It's also because of Ukrainian aggression. Same reason. The Ukrainians are acting recklessly there, and it's just. And Ukraine is losing the war, and they know about it, and there's issues with the Baltic states, and they just want to ditch the whole plan because they feel like it's making their country unsafe. And then we have Monaco again. Monaco is having like a financial earthquake. The stability of Monaco relies on absolute rule of law and stability of the global financial system. So it's a financial pact they have with China. Then Russia enters the stage. The Belarus, they deliver intelligence information about the NATO Trojan horses, about Ukraine trying to attack Belarus, and then through that way attacking Russia, okay? So Russia has had enough. They've had it up to here with NATO and the Europeans trying to attack them all the time, okay? Russia shares the Trojan information with China. Then this is weird, Trinidad and Tobago. It's because apparently the United States wants to harass Trinidad for some reason. I don't know. They're gonna try to harass them for something stupid because it's just the Trump administration. They're fucking retarded. Sorry, you're not supposed to say that word anymore, right? The next one is Turkmenistan and Kazakhstan. The American government is trying to claim there's major human rights violations, but they actually want to turn these countries into vassal states. These are like former Soviet places, and they don't want them to have a relationship with the Russians, and so they're trying to see if they can overthrow these governments, replace them with puppets like they did in Ukraine. And so Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan, they get irritated, and they don't, the American thing, no thank you. That's what happens with them. UAE, it's because of oil. It has something to do with oil. I guess they've been having enough with Trump and the Trump administration, and they decide to side with China. America loses out on some oil. Then there's Burkina Faso. They want to be free, independent. They're gonna be like the China, Russia. Okay, not Russia. What is it? Sorry, I didn't mean to say Russia. I meant to say Africa. It was in my head. They want to. Oh, the Americans. They want to steal their resources, and France does too. And they just about had it up to here with them, so they side with Russia. Then there's going to be a pause. Then there's Canada. Canada also switches sides. Canada switches sides because Trump is threatening their sovereignty. That's why. The Trump administration is threatening Canada's sovereignty, and they decide they've had enough, so they switch sides. Egypt was originally on the side with the Americans, but they switched sides. It has something to do, it's because of Israel. It has something to do with Israel. Then Saudi Arabia joins. The Israelis go to the Saudis asking for alliance or help with something, and they think that the Trump administration thinks they have it in with the Saudis. The Saudis hate Trump. I don't know if he fucking knows that. They don't fucking like you, bro. It's pretend. Anyways, I'm not going to talk about what they're doing secretly. Sri Lanka is because the Americans are trying to steal their resources. Iran, don't need to explain that one, right? And North Korea, who's been watching gleefully on the side, decides that they want to join because they just... North Korea has bad blood with the Americans because of the American-Korean War and how the Americans, tried to take over North Korea a long time ago. So those are all the groups that are involved, why they end up joining. All right. The World War III is more of a financial, diplomatic war. So everyone keeps saying, oh, World War III started because it's already started. It's just not what people think it is now. In the future, historians are going to say the war started with the gap problem, with Lithuania. That's what they're going to say. And they're going to say World War III was completely different. You have to remember, it's been almost 100 years have passed. All right? So the way we fought a war in the 1930s and 40s is not going to be the same way we fight a war decades, almost a century later. The method of war is going to change. So people have been waiting. People keep saying they think World War III is going to start no, it's already started. It's just a different type of war. So World War III is more of a financial structure, financial war. It's a financial war, all right? So I thought I would make this video because I keep seeing everybody saying World War III must be starting now because of the Iran, Persia, whatever you want to call them now, Persia, the bombing of Persia or whatever. That's not why. It's been going on for a while.